Rob, AI messaging, genuine opportunity or just a shiny new toy?
I think it's like anything, it's a tool. And yeah, the ability to generate lots of messages at scale is great. But equally, if it's used to just send more messages, then yeah, not so great. And we use AI in almost every single message we send, but it's with some really specific guardrails. It's with really specific models that have been trained on hundreds of thousands of messages, and really with specific data points as well. So as an example, we don't just tell AI to write a message. However, being able to conduct research on that particular prospect and that particular company and identify which of the one or two pain points from our overall list of 5 they are most likely to resonate with right now is a really good use of it. But broadly, the structure of the message wouldn't change. So it's and that research wouldn't have been possible a year or two ago because it would have required a human to do that. So it's a real enabler there. But yeah, it's also something that could be misused in the same way you could just send out 10,000 emails with poor personalization in.
Yeah, I mean, looking at my inbox, it feels like it is just enabling more bad emails.
Yeah, I guess
it is. It is.
I see a lot, and I have the University of Sheffield on my LinkedIn profile, and I probably get 3, 4, 5 messages a week which go, and sometimes even in the subject line saying University of Sheffield, or an opener that says, I see you went to the University of Sheffield, I'd love to chat about that sometime. And it's clearly, it's an attempt to force personalization into an email. And the fact is, AI or not, it's just unnatural. And I don't want to talk to someone I've never met about a university I went to 20 years ago. And much I loved the university, it's not relevant. Whereas using AI to do the things that a human would do is where it really does come into its own. And quite often it's about sending fewer emails rather than sending weirdly personalized ones.
Yeah, I think that's a really key thing, isn't it? Because the sort of flood of emails, like cold emails, partly facilitated by AI, there's other reasons behind it as well. But it just feels like some people have looked at AI and gone, that enables me to send more. And actually the key, I think what you're talking about is no, it allows me to send better.
Or not just better, but fewer.
Yeah.
So if we think of, often when we think of targeting, think of typical firmographics, think industry, company size, SIC code, NICS code, all of these things. But whichever way you cut it, your targeting is always going to be quite broad, and you're going to, you want to include all of the target companies. And so it's, you tend to have companies that may not be ideal fit within that overall audience. And what we can use AI for is an additional filter on top of that. I'll give an example of a campaign. We had a campaign that they had a product that wanted to target manufacturers of nursery equipment and commercial greenhouses. So it's pretty specific.
I thought you meant children's nurseries.
No, actual plant growing nurseries.
Okay, yeah.
And there's no industry or company size that links directly to that. And you can filter for an audience that contains most of those companies, but also a lot of other companies. And being able to use AI, so in real time, going, right, we want to contact this person, but we can look at their website and go, does it look like they manufacture commercial nursery equipment? And if it's a no, it's not about commenting on the university they went to, it's just not sending them an email.
Yeah.
And so, you send fewer emails, but you send them to the right people. And it's that's sort of where we try and integrate AI in the best way.
Yeah. But then it seems like you could use it to expand your audience in certain circumstances as well, right? Because the work that I've sort of done in doing some content on industries, that you really quickly kind of notice that actually a lot of companies don't fit nicely into a little box of this industry. They kind of straddle, they're relevant to that one and that one and that one, and where do they place themselves? And I suppose that then previously, either you kind of really broaden up to all these industries and then you're it's very inefficient, I suppose, or you kind of niche down on the most relevant one. But now you're able to actually look at all of those industries, but strip out the ones, that aren't relevant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Your targeting is kind of seen as the starting point now rather than the end point. Another campaign, as an example, it's a company that sells HR software. Okay, so they're in a software or a tech category, but actually, depending on the conversations being had with them, it might be more relevant for HR to be the industry, or actually, are they struggling with developing software? And so it's those kind of nuances that AI can really, really help get to grips with.
Yeah. And then, making that increasing relevance, we've talked before about buyer intent signals and, acting on those. And a kind of part of that is timing and relevance, right? And it seems to me that AI has the potential to help with that because it can write a kind of bespoke message that can, so it helps with the timing because it's not someone having to sit there and write it, but it helps with the relevance because it can take, that trigger of, oh, this action happened, write a message relevant to that.
Absolutely. And when you're dealing, so you put yourself in the shoes of a salesperson, actually, you have a limited number of hours in the day, and really the whole premise of SoPro or any other agency is to maximize the use of those hours and to highlight what is the things that are best spent doing. Pitching, clearly, number one. And the more time spent pitching, the more valuable that salesperson's day is. But equally, use the example of reacting to intent. And not all intent is equal. It might be the case of a prospect that you spoke to yesterday on a pitch is on the website. I don't want AI to follow up with an email to that. I want to be notified of that so I can manually reach out to them. However, it could be the case that an unknown person from a company that is within the audience, but we haven't spoken to, is on the website. Actually, the best next steps there are to research that company, find people who are in scope, and contact them to see if they would be interested in talking. Those things take time and arguably are not the best use of that salesperson's time and are perfect to be done via AI, because in the real world, what tends to happen is they just don't get done.
Yeah.
And so that's where, again, it's another example of kind of adding value where it should be.
Yeah. And I guess it's just key to have the kind of guardrails, right? That you don't, because if you're if part of responding to those signals is sort of automated as we're done with AI, then you don't want to tip into that creepiness you were talking about of like, hey, I see that you went to a wedding last week on your profile or whatever,
Exactly, yeah. And it's like almost like the promise of AI is really appealing, but doing it right is really, really difficult. And I think us, along with many, many other people, you play around with ChatGPT and come up with proof of concepts very, very quickly. But in order to really industrialize this, it does require quite a lot of technology. And we have our own AI middleware, which interfaces with sort of the major AI providers and forms, takes in lots of different data points, forms prompts, has additional information that comes in about campaigns with some really, really strong guardrails, and then additional QA processes before a message gets sent out. And these are things that we're iterating all the time as well. But the core thing, it's letting AI sort of run away with itself is, it's not a world that we're in just yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like you have to teach it the rules of the game, right? And like what's good. It knows how to generally write, but it's also, I always think of it like it's an average of everything, of all content.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of quite middle of the road. And people are getting better and better at spotting it. Like very quickly, people are kind of going, that feels like it's not human.
Exactly.
So
And they might not even be saying that in their head, but you're just comfortable ignoring that.
Yeah. That sort of uncanny valley thing in the back of your head. Yeah. So it's all about giving it the rules and feeding it the right data and allowing it to kind of perform within a very particular set of circumstances, right?
Exactly.
It's basically all you're doing is you're taking that knowledge that you've built up from your sort of 10 years of doing this and then passing it over to the AI, right?
Yeah, exactly that. And it's not about kind of using AI to invent new stuff. Absolutely everything starts from first principles. If you were a salesperson and you had infinite time, what are all the things you would do? And some of those things can be are not possible because you don't have infinite time, and can be handled by AI with the right prompting, with the right guardrails. Some of them can't, and they need to be handled by a person. That actually could be made more efficient. And it's always starting from those first principles rather than, we've got this shiny new tool.
Mm.
What can we do with it?
Yeah, that makes sense. I suppose it's not that much different from, other automation tools, CRMs or whatever it is that have kind of come in over the last 20 years or whatever. I don't know how long it is. That have, just taken away some of those like admin tools that salespeople had to do that, took them away from, like you say, pitching, doing the cool part of their job.
Well, it's the entire premise that Sopra was set up on. 10 years ago, there weren't outreach platforms. There's the big ones now, but they genuinely didn't exist. So we built our own. We still maintain our own. But the whole premise was about reclaiming that time that salespeople, SDRs, were spending manually sending emails, manually doing follow-ups, manually keeping a log of all of this, just to drive the leads in to have the conversations. And yeah, it's exactly what we did then, and the tools have changed, but the underlying premise of reclaiming a salesperson's day hasn't.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Rob. I think we've covered a lot there.
Thanks, Kit.